lang. Okay, so okay, once again, good afternoon. So this time, we hear from Madam Marceline, no, about the implementing strategies, management and operations issues. So we're going to address some issues and concerns related to the implementation of some strategies. Okay, so take it away, Madam.
Hello, Dean and classmates. I'll be presenting Implementing Strategies, Management and Operation Issues. Successful strategy formulation does not guarantee successful strategy implementation. It is always more difficult to do something than to say you are going to do it. Although inextricably linked, strategy implementation is fundamentally different from strategy formulation. Strategy formulation and implementation can be contrasted in the following ways. Strategy formulation is positioning forces before the action, while strategy implementation is managing forces during the action. Strategy formulation focuses on effectiveness, while strategy implementation focuses on efficiency. Strategy formulation is primarily an intellectual process, while strategy implementation is primarily an operational process. Strategy formulation requires good intuitive and analytical skills, while strategy implementation requires special motivation and leadership skills. Strategy formulation requires coordination among a few individuals, while strategy implementation requires coordination among many individuals. Management issues central to strategy implementation include establishing annual objectives, devising policies, allocating resources, altering an existing organizational structure, restructuring and re-engineering, revising reward and incentive plans, minimizing resistance to change, matching managers with strategy, developing a strategy supportive culture, adapting production operation processes, developing an effective human resources function, and if necessary, downsizing. Management changes are necessarily more intensive when strategies to be implemented move a firm in a major new direction. Managers and employees throughout an organization should participate early and directly in strategy implementation decisions. Their role in strategy implementation should build upon prior involvement in strategy formulation activities. The following are some management issues central to strategy implementation. Let's discuss this one by one. Annual objectives. Establishing annual objectives is a decentralized activity that directly involves all managers in an organization. Active participation in establishing annual objectives can lead to acceptance and commitment. Annual objectives are essential for strategy implementation because they represent the basis for allocating resources, are primary mechanism for evaluating managers, are the major instrument for monitoring progress toward achieving long-term objectives, and establish organization, divisional, and departmental priorities. Policies. Changes in a firm's strategic direction do not occur automatically. On a day-to-day basis, policies are needed to make a strategy work. Policies facilitate solving recurring problems and guide the implementation of strategy. Resource allocation. Resource allocation is a central management activity that allows for strategy execution. In organizations that do not use a strategic management approach to decision-making, resource allocation is often based on political or personal factors. Strategic management enables resources to be allocated according to priorities established by annual objectives. Managing conflict. Interdependency of objectives and competition for limited resources often leads to conflict. Conflict can be defined as a disagreement between two or more parties on one or more issues. Establishing annual objectives can lead to conflict because individuals have different expectations and perceptions. Schedules create pressure, personalities are incompatible, and misunderstandings between line managers and staff managers occur. Matching structure with strategy. Changes in strategy often requires changes in the way an organization is structured for two major reasons. First, structure largely dictates how objectives and policies will be established. For example, objectives and policies established under a geographic organizational structure are couched in geographic terms. Terms of products in an organization structure is based on product groups. The structural format for developing objectives and policies can significantly impact all other strategy implementation activities. The second major reason why changes in strategy often requires changes in structure is that structure dictates how resources will be allocated. If an organization structure is based on customer groups, then resources will be allocated in that manner. Similarly, if an organization structure is set up along functional business lines, then resources are allocated by functional areas. Unless new or revised strategies place emphasis in the same areas old strategies, structural reorientation commonly becomes a part of the strategy implementation. Symptoms of an ineffective organizational structure. There are too many levels of management. There are too many meetings attended by too many people. Too much attention being directed towards solving interdepartmental conflicts. Too large span of control. Too many unachieved objectives. Declining corporate or business performance. Losing ground to rival firms. And revenue or earnings divided by number of employees and number of managers is low compared to rival firms. Production or operation concerns. Production operation capabilities, limitations, and policies can significantly enhance or inhibit the attainment of objectives. Production processes typically constitute more than 70% of a firm's total assets. A major part of the strategy implementation process takes place at the production site. Production-related decisions on plant size, plant location, product design, choice of equipment, kind of tooling, size of inventory, inventory control, quality control, cost control, use of standards, job specialization, employee training, equipment and resource utilization, shipping and packaging, and technological innovation can have a dramatic impact on the success or failure of a strategy implementation efforts. Human resources. The job of human resource manager is changing rapidly as companies continue to downsize and reorganize. Strategic responsibilities of the human resource manager include assessing the staffing needs and costs for alternative strategies proposed during strategy formulation, and developing a staffing plan for effectively implementing strategies. This plan must consider how best to manage a spiraling healthcare insurance costs. Employers' health coverage expenses consume an average of 26% of firms' net profits, even though most companies now require employees to pay part of their health insurance premiums. The plan must also include how to motivate people and managers during a time when layoffs are common and workloads are high. Restructuring, re-engineering, and e-engineering. Restructuring and re-engineering are becoming commonplace on the corporate landscape across the US and Europe. Restructuring, also called downsizing, right-sizing, or delayering, involves reducing the size of the firm in terms of number of employees, number of divisions or units, and number of hierarchical levels in the firm's organizational structure. This reduction in size is intended to improve both efficiency and effectiveness. Restructuring is concerned primarily with shareholder well-being rather than employee well-being. Linking performance and pay to strategies. How can an organization reward system be more closely linked to strategic performance? How can decisions on salary increases, promotions, merit pay, and bonuses be more closely aligned to support the long-term strategic objectives of the organization? There are no widely accepted answers to these questions, but a dual bonus system, based on both annual objectives and long-term objectives, is becoming common. The percentage of a manager's annual bonus attributable to short-term versus long-term results should vary by hierarchical level in the organization. A chief executive officer's annual bonus could, for example, be determined on a 75% short-term and 25% long-term basis. It is important that bonuses not be based solely on short-term results because such a system ignores the long-term company strategies and objectives. Managing resistance to change. Resistance to change can be considered the single greatest threat to successful strategic implementation. Resistance regularly occurs in organizations in the form of sabotaging product machines, absenteeism, filing unfounded grievances, and an unwillingness to cooperate. People often resist strategy implementation because they do not understand what is happening or why changes are taking place. In that case, employees can simply need accurate information. Successful strategy implementation hinges upon managers' ability to develop an organization and climate conducive to change. Change must be viewed as an opportunity rather than as a threat by managers and employees. Creating a supportive culture. Strategies should strive to persevere, emphasize, and build upon aspects of an existing culture that support proposed new strategies. Aspects of an existing culture that are antagonistic to a proposed strategy should be identified and changed. Substantial research indicates that new strategies are often market-driven and dictated by company competitive forces. For this reason, changing a firm's culture to fit a new strategy is usually more effective than changing a strategy to fit an existing culture. That's all. Thank you for listening.